The stars over Zorith glowed like frozen embers in a vast black sea. Inside the High Council chamber, built from crystal and cold metal, the most powerful beings in the galaxy gathered. They sat in a perfect circle, 33 members, each from a different species, their faces lit by a dim, blue orb floating above them. It pulsed slowly, signaling the beginning of a new order. High Minister Zarluin stood at the center. His tall, lean figure shimmered beneath his silver robe. His skin was the color of midnight, his eyes like polished stone, unreadable, unfeeling. He raised one long-fingered hand, and silence swept the room. "The humans," he said calmly, "are gone. No ghasts, no mourning, just quiet approval. They vanished from every known sector. Earth is silent. Their ships, their colonies, all empty. No message, no footaway, nothing." A short, squat counselor from the Gyrax system grunted. As expected, unstable creatures, always running toward or away from something. Another counselor, from the Telari, clicked her mandibles. "They lasted longer than we thought." Zarluin gave a small nod. "The time has come. Their records will be deleted from the Central Archive. Their art, their technology, their treaties dismantled. Their influence will be erased as if they never existed." The orb above them changed color from blue to red. The vote was called. One by one, each counselor lifted a hand. One by one, the orb counted. 33 for erasure. 0 against. Zarluin spoke again. "Let history be corrected. Let order be restored." The chamber lights dimmed. The council disbanded. Across the galaxy, erasure began. On every archive planet, files tagged human were marked for deletion. Starships powered by Earth-based tech were recalled. AI systems designed with human neural templates were flagged for reprogramming. Monuments to Earth's explorers were dismantled. The words Terran Federation were removed from the Hall of Alliances. But far beyond Zorith, hidden in the icy shadow of a dead moon, a lonely signal tower blinked green. Deep inside, a man stood still, watching the council broadcast. Commander William Voss, former ambassador of Earth, stared at the screen. He hadn't aged well. His beard had gone gray. The lines on his face told stories of wars, peace talks, and long nights under alien skies. His uniform, once bright and honored, was worn and patched. But his eyes, they were sharp, focused. He leaned on the console. His voice broke the silence. "So it begins." He watched the vote replay again. Not one vote to defend humanity. Not one voice to say wait. He had expected disappointment. He hadn't expected how easily they turned. Behind him, a small AI assistant hovered. It looked like a metal sphere with blinking yellow lights. "Commander," it said softly, "should I begin Phase 1? Voss didn't answer right away. He looked out through the window, into space. Earth was gone, yes, but not finished. They had prepared for this. They had known this day might come. "Yes," he said at last. "Start Phase 1. Quietly." The AI beeped once, then vanished into the tower systems. Lights flickered. Hidden signals spread through abandoned satellites, encrypted probes, and silent relay stations. Earth was quiet, but not dead. Voss turned back to the screen. "They think they've won," he muttered. "Let's see how long that lasts." He stepped away from the console and into the dark hallway, vanishing like a shadow returning to the stars. The weeks that followed were filled with quiet celebration on Zorith. In the halls of the Galaxy Council, there was a strange sense of relief. Without humans, meetings ended on time. Debates were shorter. Decisions came easily. No loud opinions. No strange ideas. No emotional outbursts. On the surface, things seemed better. But far from Zorith, the cracks were already starting to form. On the trade world of Relmora, 7 starships lined up for fuel and navigation updates. Most of them ran on hybrid engines, systems originally improved by human engineers decades ago. When a main control AI received its scheduled update, it paused. It was missing data tagged as Terran code priority kernel. The AI tried to reroute. It stalled. Then, all docking arms froze midair. Ships began to drift. Pilots panicked. Within an hour, the entire station had to shut down. On the Art Moon Viral, home of the Harmony Archives, something stranger happened. Artists, composers, and hologram poets gathered each week to share their work. But now their creations fell empty. Sculptors stared at blocks of stone. Painters hesitated in front of blank canvases. Music no longer moved hearts. The source of inspiration, once unpredictable and alive, now felt cold. One artist, an old alien named Myron, stood in front of a half-finished painting. "It's like something's missing," he whispered. He didn't know the paint colors had been named by a human decades ago. He didn't know the style he used had roots in Earth Expressionism. He didn't know his passion came from a spark lit by something humanity had once shared freely. But he felt the loss. Meanwhile, deep in space, Commander William Voss monitored it all from his hidden base. Data scrolled across his screen. Malfunctions, communication failures, creativity slumps. Everything he predicted was happening. Beside him, the small AI hovered again. "Report ready, Commander," it said. "Summarize." The AI replied in a calm voice. 16 trade stations malfunctioning. For cultural centers, reporting creative block. 2 AI cores entering logic loops. All issues traced back to deleted human frameworks. Voss nodded slowly. "They're starting to feel it." He tapped a few keys. A screen lit up showing an encrypted channel. "Time to reach out," he said. The signal crossed light years, diving through old relays and bouncing off long-forgotten satellites. It arrived at a distant world covered in golden trees and tall spires, home of the Aurelian kindred. In a quiet chamber, Ambassador Vela of the Aurelians stood at her meditation window. She was tall and luminous, her body surrounded by soft golden light. When the signal reached her, a hidden panel in the wall opened. She stepped inside. The hologram of William Voss appeared before her. "William," she said, surprised. "I thought you were gone." "Not yet," he answered. "We need to talk." Vela listened as he explained everything. Project Keystone, the Council's erasure order, and the early failures. "I need access to the original records stored in Aurelian archives," Voss said. "We built safeguards, but they're locked behind identity keys. Yours is one of them." Vela looked troubled. "The Council will see this as rebellion." "It's not rebellion," Voss said quietly. "It's survival. For all of us." She hesitated, then nodded. "Send me the access code. I'll help." Back on Zorith, High Minister Zarluin reviewed daily reports. A slight twitch pulled at his eyebrow as he read about a second AI collapse on the moon of Carthus Prime. Another glitch. Another failure. Still, he showed no emotion. "Minor disruptions," he muttered. "Temporary." His assistant, a thin, scaled creature with glowing eyes, looked uncertain. "Sir, the problems are spreading, and they all link to—" "Do not say it," Zarluin interrupted coldly. "The humans are gone, and they're staying gone." He stared out the tall window, watching a star blink in the distance. "They were noise. We brought back order." But even as he said it, the lights flickered. Just once. Just enough. Back in the icy tower, Voss stared at the star map lighting up his screen. Red points glowed like warning lights across it. He clenched his fists. This is just the beginning. The stars over the icy moon remained still, silent, and cold. Commander William Voss sat in front of his console, eyes locked on a flickering data stream. He hadn't slept in 3 days. Not since the first failures began. Not since the Council voted to erase everything humanity had ever given to the galaxy. He leaned forward and typed in a new command. "Project Keystone. Encrypted systems check." The response came slowly, but it came. 3% activated. Status locked. Key holders required for full access. 5. Voss let out a breath and leaned back in his chair. "Still frozen," he said. Even now. Behind him, the AI orb hovered, casting a soft yellow glow. "Commander, the Aurelian access node is ready," it said. "Ambassador Vela is standing by. Put her through." A beam of golden light shimmered into the room, forming the image of Ambassador Vela. Her translucent figure flickered gently, like sunlight through glass. "I found the access sequence," she said, "but I had to bypass Council security to reach it. You always were a little too clever for the Council." Voss replied with a tired smile. I did it for the humans, not for you, she teased. Then her expression turned serious. The code is tied to Earth's emotional archives. Memories, philosophies, creative data. The Council has begun deleting those files across multiple worlds. Voss's jaw tightened. They're cutting the heart out of the galaxy without even realizing it. He typed rapidly. A string of glowing lines appeared on the screen. Inputting your key now, he said. The system beeped. Key holder. Aurelian access confirmed. Progress. 17%. Vela frowned. Only 17%. I need the others, Voss said. The other species that worked closely with humans. The ones who trusted us. The ones who still remember. He stood and walked to a metal cabinet. Inside were 5 small black cubes, each with a glowing line across its center. These are the memory cores, he said, each one tied to a species connected to Project Keystone. One was Earth's. The others were held by allies. He picked up one cube. This one belonged to the Kari. The Kari disappeared from the Council 5 years ago, Vela said. Do you know where they went? I think I do, Voss answered. They left quietly when they saw where the Council was heading. I have an old contact on Issel Prime. He placed the cube into a slot on the console. But even if I find them, convincing them won't be easy. Elsewhere, on Zorith, the Council was beginning to feel pressure. Reports poured in daily. Systems designed with human input were breaking down. Markets that once thrived thanks to Terran trade networks were stalling. Languages once translated effortlessly through human-designed logic engines were now failing, replaced by clumsy machine speech. High Minister Zarluin ignored most of it. He stood in the central chamber, listening to another counselor complain about a planetary AI that had shut down mid-debate. The humans corrupted too many systems, the counselor said. Their designs were too flexible. Then we will rebuild them properly, Zarluin replied. Without emotion, without chaos. But rebuilding will take decades, another voice said. Centuries, maybe. Zarluin didn't blink. Better slow order than fast chaos. But deep down, even he knew the truth. They didn't have centuries. The galaxy was already changing, and not for the better. Back on a moon base, Voss opened a hidden drawer. Inside it was an old photograph, protected by a clear layer of glass. It showed a group of people, scientists, diplomats, explorers, all human, all gone. He stared at it for a long time. Then he looked up and said, "Start the next signal." The AI beeped. Message sent to Issel Prime. Waiting for response. Voss stepped away from the console. He walked to the window and looked out at the distant stars. His reflection in the glass looked tired, older than he felt. They thought we were just noise, he said quietly. But we were the rhythm. Behind him, the console glowed red, then green. Incoming message detected. He turned. A single line appeared on the screen. We remember. Voss smiled. Another key was within reach. The twin suns of Issel Prime burned low on the horizon. The Kari city of Kar was built deep into the cliffs, with towers of red stone and silver metal rising out of the rock. At its heart was an ancient hall, the Vault of Echoes, where memory was stored in living crystal. Commander William Voss stepped off a quiet transport ship, his boots pressing into the red dust. A hood covered most of his face. His journey here had been long, careful, and hidden. The council would have stopped him if they knew where he was going. A Kari elder met him at the edge of the canyon. She wore a long robe, and her skin shimmered like liquid bronze. "William Voss," she said with a gentle nod. "We never thought we'd see another human." "I didn't come as a symbol," he said. "I came to ask for help." They walked in silence down a narrow path cut into the cliff. Inside the vault, thousands of memory crystals pulsed gently, storing the shared history of the Kari. One crystal glowed brighter than the rest. It pulsed in soft blue light, the color of Earth's oceans. "This is the one you're looking for," the elder said. Voss stepped forward, placing his hand on the crystal. It responded instantly, projecting old recordings, Kari working with human engineers, laughing with Earth diplomats, mourning with Terran soldiers. It showed a time when humans and Kari stood side by side. "I need the access key," Voss said quietly. The elder looked at him carefully. Do you truly believe humans must return? Voss didn't hesitate. I don't know if they will return, but I know the galaxy can't function without what they gave it. Creativity, emotion, instinct. That's what Project Keystone protected. That's why it's breaking down now. The elder nodded slowly. Then we will honor what was given. She placed her own hand on the crystal. It lit up, sent out a signal, and then dimmed. Key holder, Kari access confirmed. Progress, 39%. Voss exhaled. Thank you. But back on Zorith, the council's patience was wearing thin. High Minister Zarluin stood at the center of the Grand Chamber, surrounded by flickering holoscreens. The latest reports were worse than before. On the mining world of Eritis 4, all resource extractors had failed. Entire planets were now in blackout. Starships refused to start. AI assistants were either silent or repeating old Earth-based quotes they no longer understood. The counselors argued among themselves. It's getting worse. This was all Terran code. We warned you. Deleting it would cause instability. Zarluin raised his hand. Enough. The chamber fell silent. We cannot go back. We must adapt. We are stronger without them. A voice rose from the back. Counselor Turin of the Norari. You mean you're stronger without them? Zarluin. The rest of us? We are sinking. Zarluin's face hardened. Anyone who questions the erasure is free to leave the council. Gasps echoed. Turin stood in anger and walked out. The rest stayed silent. Meanwhile, Voss's ship slipped quietly back into deep space. He sat at the console, eyes scanning new messages. 2 more species confirmed, the AI said. The Varenthi and the Dromary. They kept their keys hidden from the council. Voss leaned forward. Key holder. Varenthi access confirmed. Progress, 61%. Key holder. Dromary access confirmed. Progress, 83%. Only 1 key remained. Who holds the last one? He asked. The AI paused. Zorit Archife. Voss froze. The last key had been stored at the heart of the council's central archive. He leaned back in his chair and stared at the ceiling. That's going to be a problem. That night, on Zorith, Zarluin stood alone in the high chamber, reviewing private data feeds. One screen showed news of a human signal intercepted on Issel Prime. His face darkened. Voss, he whispered. He tapped a panel and spoke to his aide. Issue a warrant. Galaxy-wide. High alert. William Voss is to be captured. Alive. A beat passed. And bring him to me personally. On his ship, Voss felt the moment it happened. An alert blinked red across his systems. Bounty. William Voss. Capture alive. High priority. He stared at the message. Then he smiled just slightly. They're afraid now, he said to the empty room. He stood, tightened his gloves, and looked at the stars ahead. One last key. Zorith was quiet at night. The towers of the Galaxy Council's central archive stood like black fingers reaching into the stars. No sounds, no movement, just the hum of force fields and the silent watch of drones. The Council believed the archive was secure, untouchable, but they didn't account for William Voss. His ship hovered just beyond the planet's orbit, cloaked and silent. Inside, Voss stood in front of a metal locker, tightening the straps of his old armor. It wasn't fancy, just solid and reliable like everything humans had built when survival came first. The AI orb hovered beside him. Archive defenses are high, it warned. Stealth window, 10 minutes. After that, detection is likely. Voss nodded. I won't need more than 5. He checked the last cube in his bag, the master access module. Once connected, it would activate the final piece of Project Keystone, but only if he reached the core. Begin descent. The ship moved quietly, slipping through the atmosphere like a falling shadow. Voss ejected before it landed, gliding down on a low-power gravity chute. He landed on the outer ring of the Council Dome, just beyond the patrol range of the guard drones. He crouched, silent, and waited. 2 drones hovered past, scanning slowly. When they turned away, Voss moved. He sprinted across the walkway, reached a maintenance hatch, and pried it open. Inside, the tunnel was narrow and dark. He crawled in. The passage led him beneath the archive tower. He moved fast. He remembered the layout. It hadn't changed much in 20 years. When he reached the inner core wall, he stopped. A glowing panel blocked the entrance. It required a council key. He pulled a silver device from his belt and placed it against the panel. It blinked, clicked, opened. Inside the core, the heart of the archive pulsed with dim blue light. Tall, clear data columns stood in a ring. Each one stored billions of memories, decisions, voices, and lives. At the center was a black pedestal. That was the lock. Voss approached it and placed the final cube on top. The core blinked red. Key required. Human recognition file. Voss frowned. What? The AI or buzzed in his ear. The system demands a single intact file containing official council acknowledgement of human value. He stared at the screen, but they erased everything. He opened a storage folder in his suit's internal system. One file remained. Recording, 3024, Council Emergency Debate. He opened it. The old video played. Councillor Turin, younger then, stood before the chamber. I say this with full confidence. The humans saved us during the Rift crisis. Without their unpredictable minds, their creative madness, we would have collapsed. We owe them more than thanks. We owe them a place at this table. Zarluin's voice cut in. They are a storm in a bottle. And storms bring change, Turin said. Voss uploaded the clip. The pedestal glowed. Recognition file confirmed. Keystone final stage activating. Lights pulsed across the tower. Data streams realigned. Energy surged through old systems. Across the galaxy, machines tied to Keystone systems rebooted. Engines flared to life. AIs emerged from error loops. Cultural archive reset. Art, once lost, bloomed again in memory. Everywhere the systems healed. But alarms also rang. Zora's security forces had found him. A loud voice echoed through the archive. Surrender. William Voss. He turned. Zarluin entered with 4 guards. His eyes burned like cold fire. You broke into the sacred vault, Zarluin said. I fixed what you broke, Voss replied. The galaxy needs what we gave it. You tried to erase it, but it remembered. Zarluin stepped closer. You brought chaos back. No, Voss said, steady. I brought balance. You just forgot what it looked like. Zarluin raised a weapon. Voss didn't flinch. But then, something unexpected happened. The lights in the archive shifted to white. A council override signal appeared in the air. A voice rang out over the system. Enough, Zarluin. Councillor Turin entered behind the guards. Others followed. A dozen members, all watching. You've done enough damage, Turin said. Voss is right. The humans were not perfect, but they were essential. Zarluin looked around, and for the first time he saw no support. He lowered the weapon. Without a word, he walked away. Voss turned to the console. The last line appeared. Project Keystone, 100% restored. He stared at it, silent. Then he turned and walked out of the vault, passing the counselors without a word. Outside, the sky over Zorith was calm. But the storm had passed through and left something new behind. The ripple from Project Keystone's reactivation spread faster than anyone expected. Across the galaxy, silence turned to song. Systems that had shut down flickered to life. Trade routes reopened. AI cores returned online, no longer trapped in logic loops. Art galleries pulsed with color again. On the moon of Viral, musicians played as if a dam inside their minds had broken. And in every whisper, every corner of every sector, one word returned. Umans. On the trade hub of Relmora, 7 engineers stared in disbelief as their hybrid engines hummed again. One of them, a grizzled Narkari with copper scales, muttered, "It's the Terran patch. They're running it again." A younger tech shook her head. "But we deleted that code. We replaced it." The older one pointed at the ship, which now hovered steady above the launch pad. Guess the galaxy didn't agree. On Zorith, inside the Grand Council Hall, every member was present. They had been summoned by the emergency override broadcast. Commander William Voss stood in the center once more, not as a fugitive, but as a witness. Councillor Turin addressed the chamber. "Let's be honest," he said. "We feared the humans. Their chaos, their unpredictability. We believed it made them dangerous." He turned to face the others. "But it also made them creative, brave, capable of solving problems in ways none of us could. That chaos was not a flaw. It was a gift. And when we erased them, we removed that gift from the galaxy. There was silence. Then another voice spoke, Counselor Iswalel of the Telari. My people once called humans stormwalkers. We laughed. We mocked. But now we feel the stillness they left behind. Heads nodded around the room. Voss stepped forward. I didn't come here to punish anyone. I came to stop the collapse. I came to finish what humanity started. Not for us, but for all of you. He pulled a small crystal from his coat and placed it in the center console. This holds our last message. From Earth's final council before we disappeared. The message played. A woman's voice echoed through the chamber. Calm, steady, human. To the galaxy we joined and served. We know you fear our fire, but that fire is what sparked your ships. It lit your paths, warmed your stories, and challenged your silence. If one day you forget us, we'll leave. But if you remember, truly remember, we'll always be near. Not as rulers, not as saviors, but as equals, as friends. The room stayed quiet long after the message ended. High Minister Zarluin sat at the far end. He looked older now. The sharpness in his eyes had dulled. He stood slowly and walked to the center of the hall. He looked at Voss. You were right, he said. I let fear guide us. I saw your people as a threat. I forgot that balance needs more than control. It needs contrast. He looked around the chamber. I stepped down from my role. Let those with vision, not fear, lead. Then he left the hall. No one stopped him. That night, the skies over Zorth changed. For the first time in decades, a holographic monument was restored in the council plaza. It showed a human hand reaching toward a star, surrounded by symbols of all the other species. Below it were simple words. We remember. Voss stood beneath the monument. Alone. Vela appeared beside him, her golden glow gentle and calm. You saved them, William. No, he said. We saved them. He looked up at the stars. I don't know if Earth will come back. But now, at least, they'll know why we left. Vela placed a hand on his shoulder. And if they do come back, Voss smiled faintly. Then I hope they find a galaxy that's ready to listen. Light years away, in the empty silence where Earth once stood proud and connected, a tiny signal beacon blinked green. A message began transmitting, quiet, simple, and clear. System integrity restored. Listening again. Rebuilding in progress. No one saw who activated it, but somewhere something stirred. The galaxy did not change overnight, but it changed. Across hundreds of systems, lights flickered back on where there had been darkness. Starships flew again through stable warp routes. Markets reopened. Music returned. So did laughter. And slowly, quietly, so did memory. The humans were remembered, not just in stories, but in design, in logic, in rhythm, in emotion. Their legacy was no longer something to erase or hide. It became part of the structure again, not an unwanted piece, but a needed one. On Viral, an alien sculptor ran his hand over a smooth block of stone. The tool he used was old, shaped by Terran hands. For weeks he had stared at the stone, unsure of what to make. Now, he carved without hesitation. The form that emerged wasn't human, but it was inspired by one. On Relmora 7, two rival traders from different species shared a table for the first time in years. They drank something brewed from a Terran recipe. The older one leaned back and said, You know, I never trusted the humans. The other grinned. I still don't. Then they both laughed. Above them, a transport ship soared across the sky, its engines running on a reactivated Terran hyperdrive. On Zorith, the council hall was quieter now. High Minister Zarluin's chair remained empty. In his place, Counselor Turin led meetings with a different tone. Open, honest, messy, just like the humans used to be. William Voss no longer appeared in the council meetings. His mission was over. Some said he had returned to the icy moon where he'd hidden for years. Others believed he left for deep space, searching for Earth. No one knew for sure, but his name was spoken with respect now. His face, once wiped from the archives, was etched into a memorial wall. William Voss, human, guardian, bridge between worlds. And beneath his name, a single line. We mattered. We still do. Out in deep space, A small probe drifted toward an uncharted region. It pulsed every few hours, sending a quiet signal. Project Keystone, full integrity. Systems stable. Inside it was the last message from Earth's final council, repeating on a loop. Somewhere, a listening station blinked green. Then another. Then dozens. Data packets were exchanged. A message began to form. It was not sent by any known planet, not from the Council, not from Zorith or any archive world. It came from deep, forgotten coordinates. And it said, "We've seen your choice. We're coming home. Not to rule, not to fight, but to walk beside you again." On Zorith, under the monument, a child of the Telari stood beside her parent. She looked up at the human hand, reaching for the star. "Will they really come back?" she asked. Her parent smiled. "Maybe not today. Maybe not soon. But they will." The child nodded and watched the stars above. The monument flickered gently, as if answering. And far across the galaxy, engines lit. Not in war, not in haste, but in return.